Hello, everyone. I'm Victor Lund. I'm the CEO of RE Technology. One of the issues that is facing agents and brokerages and MLSs across our industry today is disruption caused by one of the leading providers of showing solutions being sold to a brokerage. Now, that might not sound like such a big disruptive thing, but in the hearts and minds of many real estate agents, the data that's involved in showing, mainly the customer record data, is something that is held quite sacred as the customer record to the agent and broker. Some people don't like the idea of another broker providing the service, and it's caused them to seek alternative solutions that might solve that concern for them. Today, we have a wonderful guest, a group that I've known for a very long time, since the 90s. They're pioneers in delivering technology solutions to brokers and agents. The company is called Delta Media. Delta Media Group is located in Northeast Ohio. They're a great company. They serve thousands of brokers and agents, and they have been one of the companies that really pioneered lead generation across the real estate industry. And if you recall some of the early IDX property search websites, you may have seen them from Delta Media. They were one of the first. And there were a couple of calls to action that you would place on a listing in order to engage the consumer. One of them was a very popular thing called the ability to save a listing to favorites. And that helped buyers out, because if they were pouring through a bunch of listings and they wanted to come back and just see the listings that they liked, it was just really easy to keep track of those. And of course, in order to save a listing to favorites, you had to enter your contact information, usually a first name, a last name, email address, maybe a phone number. And that information would be forwarded to the real estate agent, and they would give them an opportunity to engage that consumer. A little more robust feature beyond saving a listing to favorites was saving a search. So if I knew my search criteria was to find a home in a particular neighborhood or a zip code or in a particular price point, or with bedrooms and baths that were requirements or whatever, save search was a second way that an IDX website would engage the consumer. Now, the third way was probably the best lead that could ever be generated off of an IDX website. And that is when the consumer raises their hand and says, hey, I want to go see this house, request a showing. So many, many years ago, Delta Media built solutions for getting those showing requests and routing that to the person who is going to be showing that property. Moreover, that functionality was extended to the front office staff of the brokerage, because as you know, they're answering the phone. Hi, this is brokerage name. How can I help you today? And the consumer who might be in front of a yard sign says, I would like to see this property or schedule a showing. So similarly, in the back office environment of Delta Media, there was that capability of allowing the brokerage or the front office staff or anyone to schedule a showing on behalf of that consumer and get them set up. So I want you to meet Mike Menard, again, a highly revered gentleman in our industry. But before we meet Mike, I do want to introduce a special guest here today, my good friend Jeff Kennedy. Jeff Kennedy is from the leading real estate companies of the world. He manages the vendor relationships for that organization, which is a very large organization. So Jeff, welcome. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Good. I guess you're just popping in from another meeting. We weren't sure if you were going to make it.
Yeah, thank you for waiting for me. I apologize for being late.
No, you're fine. You're fine. So Jeff, could you tell us a little bit about leading RE and your role in the industry? And then I just have some questions about the disruption in the marketplace that's been caused by Zillow buying ShowingTime, and kind of how your, what the broker sentiment is about that. So let's just get started learning a little bit about you and leading RE.
Sure. So I'm the Vice President of Sales and Partnerships for Leading RE. We are a independent network of brokerages. So we're based in Chicago, I think we're in 80 countries. And we work with the very best independent brokerages in any given area, basically as a referral system.
Mm-hmm. And then, so when this disruption happened, I'm sure that the members of Leading RE started calling you and saying, what's going on? What other products or services are available in the market? How are we going to respond to this situation? These are our fears. Are they real fears or unfounded fears? Can you just share a little bit of the conversations that you've had with your members, many of whom are the largest and most prominent brokerages in America?
Yeah, we got a ton of calls. Everyone, not everyone, a lot of people were wanting to switch gears and move away from ShowingTime. And so I did a lot of work and research to see what was on the market right now. And it seemed like most of the offerings or products that were being developed were at the very, very early stages, like we're just getting started, or were geographically limited and they were just in one city or just in one state. And I didn't see any really other than Delta's product that had any kind of runway as far as MLS integrations and relationships and all of that. So when I talked to Mike and to Franklin and the folks at Delta, I was super surprised and happy to hear about the fact that they already had a product already built and they were just kind of fine tuning it before going live with it. And that seems to be an awesome segue for our members.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, I know your members, they were very, many of them were using like the Bouge technology for agent and broker websites before Remax bought it. So that kind of caused some disruption for them before. And we've seen these things happen in the past. And, you know, I think it begs the question about, you know, when you're thinking about partnering with a technology company, like, how is it that you can be certain in any way that your company is not going to get sold off to a competitor? You know, we just saw this this week with Compass purchasing a business called Glide. And,
Right.
you know, the backstory on that is that, you know, Compass was using a product called disclosures.io. It's a really important product that they had for their agents. And that company got sold to, do you guys remember the name of the company? I just skipped out of my mind. But that company got sold to another referral-based company. Homelight bought it.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that caused, you know, Compass and a lot of other brokers to kind of get away from disclosures.io, and they went over to Glide. And, you know, Glide has those disclosures. It also had another great feature, which is offer management, you know, but still same kind of thing. If you're a brokerage who wasn't part of Compass and now your competitor is getting all the disclosure information and offer information, you know, you question whether or not the data that's being transmitted is being, you know, sniffed, if you will, by your competitor.
Well, I don't want to point fingers or judge, right? People, there's no wrong path. If you own a tech company and you're building it to sell it eventually, high five, more power to you. But Franklin and I had a webinar yesterday for leading RE members, and we coined, I don't know if we coined the phrase, I'd never heard it before, but it was built to sell versus built to serve. And so again, there's no wrong way. Just when you work with a company like Delta that's independently owned and has publicly and even through contractually will put it in writing that they're not going to sell, you know that they're built to serve. And that's always someone we want to partner with.
Well, Jeff, maybe you could join me in introducing Mike Menard. I know you've had a long friendship with him for many years. He's been a great partner to your organization. And we'll let Mike talk a little bit about Delta, and then we'll have Franklin show what they've created to solve these problems in the industry.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, gentlemen. And I'll just talk for a couple minutes because I'm that typical tech person that will ramble and get in the weeds. So I'll be kind of high level here. And really some of the things that I wanted to share is that while Delta's been around for 27 years, believe it or not, I've been an owner for 21 years. And ironically enough, about 20 to 21 years ago, there were two companies doing online showings that I knew of, and it was us and ShowingTime. And they obviously had a different path that they were on than what we were on. We were working on a different solution than what they were working on doing. I saw it simply part of the brokerage ecosystem of running their business through web and all of that. And they saw it as managing showings, which was not the world I really wanted to get into, but eventually we found ourselves kind of doing over the years. But at a high level, what I want to share is what Victor shared. Obviously, is very true in that Delta is 100% owned by me. We have no debt. That's kind of weird to say that because I had business partners until about 4.5 years ago and I bought them all out. And to be quite frank, the reason I bought them out is because I saw technology that could be brought to the industry to help the industry and change the industry. I love technology and I love developing technology. And my reality is, and this is why I'm hanging on to Delta and getting into other spaces, not just real estate, but even if I sold Delta, I want to build something else again, and I'm nowhere near done building Delta. So yeah, it's not for sale. And I'll guarantee that I won't sell it. So again, own it, we're profitable, and we're having fun. I think that's kind of what it's about. But one other thing that I wanted to mention too is, as it relates to ShowingTime, I think what everyone has to realize is the minute somebody like me, the minute a tech company takes VC dollars or investment dollars, there is already a roadmap for exit. And that roadmap is roughly 3 to 7 years. There will be an exit of some sort. That's just the reality of the situation, which is why I don't take investment dollars, because I know plenty of strings come with those dollars. So anyhow, so that's my commitment, and that's what we're doing. So I know, Franklin, you're going to talk a little bit about local showings. But yeah, and I guess as you guys have questions, if you have any about Delta specifically, I'd be more than happy to answer them in a little bit.
Excellent. I do want to remind everyone that if you have questions for our panelists, there's a Q&A icon that you'll see in the control panel for the webinar, and you can just pop your question in there. And once we get to the end, we're going to answer all those questions for you. So let's introduce Franklin Stoffer. Franklin, in my opinion, is one of the best product demonstrators that you'll run across in the real estate industry. And it's always a pleasure to watch him do his craft. So Franklin, welcome.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Victor. My name is Franklin Stoffer. I am the sales manager and senior key accounts consultant for Delta Media Group. And what I'd like to show you today is talk a little bit about local showings and really the impact that I believe it's going to have on the real estate industry and what makes it different. And so obviously, as Mike has shared, we've been in the industry for a long time, over 25 years, dating back to 1994. And so we've had software over the years that could accommodate scheduling showings and having leads generated on showings. And we've had bits and pieces of this software that's been developed over the last 2 decades. And we saw an opportunity in February when we saw the announcement that ShowingTime was being acquired, that we had decided we're going to throw our hat into the arena. And we believe that there needs to be an independently owned showing product in the real estate marketplace. We think it's very, very important that real estate agents have that at their fingertips. And so when we decided to jump in to provide local showings, we had 3 core philosophies in mind as we decided to build this product and fine tune what we already had on the shelf. And that was, number 1, we wanted to directly leverage our independence and offer a no-sell guarantee to anybody using our products, which is a guarantee that Mike will remain the sole owner and operator of Delta Media Group, and that you don't need to worry about the rug getting pulled out from underneath of you again. Victor, you had mentioned earlier in the Leading RE network, many of those members were Boosh clients. Then even more were using Contactually as a software. And both of those products were acquired in 2018. And we saw directly the impact that it made on some of the best organizations in the country, where they had to quickly find an alternative solution that wasn't in their game plan. And now the entire industry, I mean, ShowingTime was being leveraged by, I believe their website's at over 900,000 realtors across the country. And so you've got over half of the industry now having to find an alternative solution that they feel good about using. So we wanted to make that.
Yeah, I don't know of any MLSs or associations that weren't using ShowingTime. I mean, I think a lot of them didn't use the call center component because it's so expensive. You know, I talked to a broker the other day. They're spending $30,000 a month on call center, and you know, pretty scary stuff. But you know, it's a pretty popular program for sure.
Absolutely, and so it was with that in mind as well. With the majority of the industry already familiar with how a showing software worked, our number 2 philosophy was, let's take all the functionality we have and polish it up to make it a frictionless transition for the realtors that are actually using the showing solution. So our goal was to offer all of the same features and workflows that realtors were already familiar with using. So we weren't having to create this huge training section that would need to happen across the entire industry, because as somebody that does training directly with real estate companies, I know the last thing you want to sit through is an 1.5 hour long training program to understand how to use something that's so critical to your business, like managing your showings. So we wanted it to be a frictionless transition for the end user. And number three, and I think this is most important for the MLS boards and brokerages looking to find an alternative solution, is we didn't want it to be cost prohibitive. We weren't seeing this as an opportunity to come in and gobble up all this market share and upsell the industry because we saw that they were looking for something. We wanted to come in and offer an alternative solution at the same price or even better value than what they were already spending. So not disrupting established budgets was huge for us. And the only reason why that was possible is because we already have relationships with hundreds of MLS boards across the country, and we are so automated internally with our tech tools. We were able to build this product and get it to market within 8 weeks of deciding to launch the showing product. It is going live in markets today. So it was huge for us to be able to execute on these three things. And it was ultimately these philosophies that led to us deciding to build local showings. In a nutshell, what local showings is a standalone showing solution that non-Delta customers could go and purchase. That would be a standalone app that you could download in the iOS or Android App Store. There's a web-based version. If you don't want to download any storage space on your phone, you can just go to the website and be able to log in and manage everything online. And as you'd mentioned earlier, we have not just the application side of things, but also even call center support that we will be offering this summer to brokerages and MLS boards that don't want to deal with the software side. They just want to have an appointment center where they can call in and schedule those appointments. So we wanted to provide, again, the same experience for the realtors they were already familiar with, but in an even easier to understand package. And so I'm not going to go through all of the bullets that are on this slide. Anybody that's sat through a presentation with me knows I try to show, not just tell. So we're going to walk through as many of these features as possible in a live version of the software today. The one thing on this slide I did want to make sure was known to everybody is that Delta Media Group, with all of our products, local showings included, is an open API environment. And so we have integrations with over 100 third parties today. And for local showings, that includes integrations directly at the MLS level with Rapatoni, Flex, Black Knight, all of the major vendors themselves. We have already started conversations and we're in integration processes right now so that the realtors can keep that same workflow of logging in at the MLS, searching for properties, and scheduling a showing directly at the MLS level so that they're not having to change what 85% of them are already used to doing, which is scheduling the showings directly through the MLS. And that does extend to integrations with lockbox companies as well, as we already have conversations started with Supra and other lockbox companies to be able to have integrations directly into our showing product.
You know, Franklin,
is there any?
I just wanted to bring up one comment there, and I think this is important for everyone in the audience to understand, is that there are some companies who are also bringing competitive alternatives to the market as well. I think one of the unique advantages that Delta Media has is your capabilities with all of the data that you now serve from MLSs across the country. Could you just talk about that footprint a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely.
How many MLSs, what percentage of all the listings in the United States are you guys managing?
Yeah, today we are working with well over 350, 400 MLSs across the country that account for over 90% of the active listings in the United States. And this was huge for us. One of the reasons why we did decide to move forward with building local showings is because over the last 20 plus years, we've already established these relationships at the MLS level with the boards. And all we've typically done with our core product is taken IDX data feeds, open house feeds, sold data feeds to display on our website products, our DeltaNet service. And so we were in a unique position where for the last 20 years, we've built and nurtured these relationships at the MLS level, doing things the right way. We've never asked the boards for anything. We've always just tried to be the best provider we can be for our partners. And so it's been amazing to me personally to see the 2 decades worth of goodwill we've built, where for the first time in the MLS world, we have a product that they need. And so I've already personally presented to over 85 MLS boards across the country that represent over 800,000 realtors. So there's immense interest in the industry to find an alternative solution. And we were in a great position where we already had these contacts and relationships where within weeks of an MLS wanting to come on board with us, we can have them up and running and live with local showings because we already have the majority of the data in our databases already.
So local
Mike,
showing,
is there anything you'd like to add on that?
Yeah, I was just going to ask a follow-up question real quick, and then we'll turn it over to Mike. But so local showings is available to agents, teams, brokers, or MLSs, correct?
Right now, the launch version of local showings is available to MLS boards and brokerages.
Okay.
We will eventually have a standalone agent product, but today it is designed for brokerages and MLS boards at launch.
And Mike, did you want to chime in
Anything
on
else you want to
something?
add, Mike?
No, I think you've answered most of it. Here's some of the other common questions that we get is, where's development done? We do all of our development in-house. We do not outsource anything. And I think that's one other important component to highlight is that what you're about to see is our first version. We're already working on version 2 of local showings. So this is not something where we're building a product, launching it, and we hope that you're happy with it for the next couple of years. We're actually going to be evolving this product on a monthly basis for years to come. It fits right into our development ecosystem. So I think that's important to highlight. And the development is done in sunny Northeast Ohio. Mostly, we're all remote now. But anyhow, so yeah, those things. And Franklin, I would just say, I know you're going to get into it, but you might want to highlight on the call center API because I'm seeing lots of questions.
Yep, absolutely. So we'll dig into the last couple of slides here, and then I'll jump into the software itself. So I wanted to show a handful of things that aren't going to be visible in the software. So one of the things we offer would be showing reports as well. That would be branded for the realtor to run to the seller. They can see an overview of the showing activity that's happened with their property. These are controlled by the realtor. If I don't want this running to the seller, I can have it just come to me. That way I can audit it before my client's going to see any of that activity or data. So just know that these can be automated and you can determine if they're going to run straight to you or if they're going to run directly to your customer. And kind of talking on the call center side, Mike, as you had mentioned, this is a huge differentiator for Delta as well, in that we don't outsource anything we do. It is all built in-house in, for the most part, Northeast Ohio. And that goes for the call center piece as well. So we already maintain and run a call center at Delta Media Group that does our outbound call strategies. And we were expanding that team to be able to accommodate inbound calls, being able to coordinate showings directly through our call center. And there is an option as well. We're building an API for the call center. So for those that are brokerages that already maintain your own call center, you can actually leverage our API to do all of the call center work yourself. You don't have to use our call center if you don't want to. Sometimes people find it can be more affordable to run your own. So we've talked with large brokerages that do have call centers where they'd like to be able to integrate local showings into their current framework. And that is something that we're able to support with how we're structured and built. The only other element to add on the support and training side is that we also do live training every single week on our Facebook and YouTube channels that will also apply to local showings. So realtors that are actually using this software would be able to join us on live training sessions to get tips and tricks on how to use our software, the ins and outs of why it's important. Those are all recorded and put onto our YouTube channel. And there's live Q&A directly on those as well. So having a high quality standard of tech support, again, not outsourced support, is critical to our business. And so lastly, that'll bring us to something else that's unique with how we have structured local showings. The last slide that I'll show before we dig into the walkthrough of the actual live software, which is we built local showings directly in the framework of all of our other products, the DeltaNet, which includes a CRM, marketing tools, open house management, automated listing videos, file storage, and so much more. So Delta has a full suite of products. And one of the ways that we've approached local showings is for those that are non-existing Delta clients that just want a showing piece, you can buy that and you can have local showings just to manage your showing appointments. But for example, when I present to an MLS board, they might want to be able to offer these other tools to their members as well. So there's an optional marketplace piece that we're building that would allow them to enable a marketplace to buy other Delta products for their members. So if they've got an agent that wants an open house app to help them more efficiently run their open houses, they could just enter their credit card and buy our open house product, and it'll be seamlessly integrated directly into local showings. Same thing goes for those that are looking for a CRM, a website plan, automated listing videos. The agents have the flexibility to enter a credit card and buy any of our products and have it seamlessly built and integrated right into local showings. And for those that are Delta customers and they're using our all-in-one platform, local showings is seamlessly integrated into their CRM solution. So they don't have to maintain two different apps. They can manage all of their showings in the same place where all of their contacts, marketing, and leads are already being generated. So it can be a truly integrated showing platform into a whole bevy of other tools that we've got at Delta.
This is excellent. One of the things that we often discuss when we're talking to businesses about what their technology strategy is, you know, we talk a little bit about the difference between endpoint applications and platform applications. An endpoint application is something that sort of stands alone by itself and may or may not have integrations with other workflows that happen in your business. And I love that Delta Media has this alternative, which gives you a little bit of both. So if you're happy with all the other tools that you have, you're just looking for a plug and play showing solution, then, you know, today you can go out and start using local showings. But if you're looking for something that might solve a lot of business needs for your brokerage, or your franchise or your MLS, you know, there's certainly a lot of depth to the tools that Delta Media can integrate across the platform. So very nicely done there, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And so with that being said, I wanted to jump in and I'll switch between the mobile view of local showings as well as the desktop view. I always like to begin with the phone view because this is probably how 90% of users are going to use a showing solution, is they'll have it pinned on their phone, they'll just pull it out and they'll be able to see any of their showings that are approved, any requests that are pending, get an overview of their listings, contacts, what's scheduled on their calendar for the upcoming month, for the week, today, or upcoming events that you've got scheduled. The software is completely one-to-one with the mobile view in the mobile app compared to what you will see on the desktop experience. So there is no loss in functionality from where you want to use local showings itself. And so for the purpose of demonstrating the functionality, I'll do most of it in the web-based version, taking a look at how the experience will flow on a desktop. And so again, we'll start on our dashboard where I can see at a glance immediately approved showings, number that have been canceled because it might be off market, it might be contingent now, it's accepted another offer, any that you were declined a showing for whatever reason, and you'll see the reason the listing agent provided for declining your showing, and any pending events, any pending showings that you've got submitted for your buyer contacts, or if you're a listing agent, anything that's pending your approval to approve or to deny a showing happening on one of your properties. We wanted the experience to be extremely intuitive and easy to understand. And so I've got everything consolidated down here into essentially 5 tabs that you can do everything Local Showings has to offer in a very, very streamlined and easy to understand interface. So here I've clicked on showings and I can see approved showings that are going to be happening on my properties here. If I clicked on any one of these buttons, it's going to give me a breakdown of any showings that were declined, canceled, or pending. So here I can see my canceled showings. I can get an overview of the pending requests. And so here I can see there's 2 pending requests on my properties, as well as an overview of all of the requests I've made on other listings directly below the fold here. There's an overview of a calendar, so I could see all of the listings that I'm currently managing and the showings that are scheduled on my own properties, so I can see when things are actually happening on
Can
my
I ask you a
listings.
question about the calendar here? So one of the issues that a lot of real estate agents have when they're trying to schedule a showing is that it's nice to have a calendar there in your software, but like, how do I know that I'm not, you know, like, I don't have another appointment at that time? Like, how do you?
Absolutely. So let me show you that exact workflow. So
Okay.
here's the actual process of if you wanted to schedule a showing in our software, which is an option. I could say, let's go ahead and we're going to schedule a new showing. So I'm going to see all of the listings that are currently active that we've pulled in from the MLS. I can say, you know, let's add a couple of these listings to the queue. And now I want to be able to actually schedule showings on these properties. We're going to go ahead and jump into my calendar overview. So I've got my showing queue and it's going to populate here, the 3 listings that I just selected. So I can see the date that I'd like to schedule these showings. So maybe I want to do all 3 of these showings on May 3rd. I could see right here on the right-hand side of the screen, this is my calendar showing me the dates and times that I've already got showings scheduled right here as I'm doing the bulk request. So I can see on the 3rd, I've got a showing at 10, 11, 1, and 2. So we're going to request this showing. This property is actually available all times of the day. So we'll do this one maybe at 4. We need 30 minutes for that showing. We'll do this showing. This property is only available until 8 p.m. So maybe we'll pop this one in at 5, 30 minutes for that one. And this one has also pretty limited availability. So we'll find a time slot there at 8 p.m. We only need 15 minutes for that one. And I can tie this to a contact. So if I'm showing all 3 of these properties to the same customer, I could type in that customer's name. And this is now going to loop them in on all of the notifications that happen related to this request. So if the showings are approved or declined, it'll automatically notify the contact that I'm showing them for as well. So if we hit save here, it's going to submit the showing request on all 3 of those properties. So now it'll dynamically build me a driving tour that I could come back and reference if these showings are approved. I've got a driving tour created where I can enter a starting address. And here we'll use an address here locally in Ohio. Even though these listings are in Charleston, we've got a long drive to go for this one. So we'll go ahead. You could see it's built a driving tour. I could see all the properties that I'm going to be visiting on this particular tour. I could add other properties because it's picked up. I've got other listings I'm showing on May 3rd. So if I want to add that listing to the driving tour, I can go ahead and add it in. I can even build in stops. If I wanted to do a lunch break at 1:30 p.m., we're going to stop at Panera Bread for a little while. I can add that address in the duration of the stop. So you can build and really structure your day of all the appointments that you've got to have in that particular appointment.
Have you
So
guys,
in the actual process,
have you thought at all about like integrating like my Google Calendar or my contacts so I don't have to like, switch back and forth between those two?
absolutely. So I'm glad you brought up contacts because that's one of the benefits that Delta already had and maintains a CRM product. In local showings, you can add customers manually. If you wanted to do it old school, just go one by one. You could bulk import customers from a CSV file. You could also synchronize contacts in. If you are a G Suite customer, Office 365 user, you can synchronize your calendar, your contacts, your emails directly into the system. So any contacts that you might have in an Office 365 group can be automatically pulled in to the software. So I can see all those contacts and it eliminates that duplicate data entry step. And something else that we're excited to be able to talk about is some of the major MLS vendors are also giving us the ability to pull in contacts that you're maintaining at the MLS. So for example, Rapatoni and Flex are 2 that we're talking to that are giving us the ability to pull in contacts directly from their software and have them displayed inside of local showings. And you can have notes on each one of those contacts. You can see an overview of all of the properties that they've already been shown, and you can see what feedback they're leaving on listings as well. So absolutely, there is a contact component with synchronization to G Suite, Office 365, and that goes for your calendar as well.
Wow, that's great. That's a big time saver right there.
Absolutely. And one of the other dashboards that I wanted to make sure to talk about too is the listing management page, because this is going to give you a clean overview of all of the listings that you've got active. So for example, 230 Quarry Ridge here is a property that Amanda Neville is managing. If I click on this listing, I can get a quick overview that there's 6 pending requests on the property, 12 showings have already happened, 5 were declined, 8 people canceled the showings after they were scheduled. And I can see feedback that's been left on this property. I can modify how this listing is going to be shown in local showings. So we're going to go ahead and look actually at this property itself. So we've pulled this data in directly from the MLS. I can see all the photos of the listing, its square footage, its price. I can add comments that will be displayed to somebody after they are approved for a showing. So if you wanted to add your lockbox combinations or any showing instructions, you can add them in the comments field here, and they'll display after somebody is approved on that showing. You've, of course, got an availability calendar to determine when are people actually able to request showings on this listing. So maybe you decide you don't want any showings on Sunday. You can easily come through and just wipe out that whole day. Or maybe there's a couple-hour window where you're going to allow showings on that day. It's as easy as just tapping the modules or just drag and dropping, and you can change the availability that's going to show on each of these listings. So it's a very easy to understand calendar. And I did want to make sure it was known that you can schedule overlapping showings on your listings if you'd like. So I could check a box and say, we're allowing duplicate showings, multiple showings during the same hour. So if Mike was already showing the property at 3 p.m. and I went in and scheduled a showing on the same property at 3 p.m. as the second agent, I'm going to get a prompt saying, just letting you know there's already a showing booked at this time. Are you okay with showing the property at the same time another agent is in the property? So you can allow them if you'd like. And you can also build in special overrides. So if I didn't want to have the property available for a particular week for whatever reason, I could come in and say this property is not available for showings during this week. Maybe we're going to be on vacation or there's going to be work done in the house, some construction's happening. So we could go ahead and just widely block out time on the calendar and say it is available or it is not available for showing during this particular window of time. And most importantly here, while we're looking at this listing, is you can build unique feedback questions for every listing that you're managing. So of course, one of the big elements of a showing software is you want to be able to see the feedback of the prospects walking through the property. So on every listing that you're managing, you can build unique survey questions that will be asked after somebody has finished a tour of a home. So as one example, I've just finished showing Mike's property. I get to the end of the showing, and as the agent, the app prompts me to leave feedback over how this showing went. I could answer these questions. And as the listing agent, you can just drag and drop and reorganize. How are these questions going to be asked? You can add your own custom questions, like, was there anything about this property that stood out as needing work? You can leave it an open text box. You can make it multiple choice. So you could say, didn't like the landscaping. Maybe you want to have a question for, think the kitchen needs updates. You can add the exact answers you want customers to have the answer of selecting, build your own multiple choice questions and more, so that you can gather unique feedback for each listing you're managing. So I could go back to the seller and say, look, 5 of the last 10 people that got to walk through this property said the bathrooms need updated. Do we want to have that conversation?
Do you
So
believe
it's an
me now?
opportunity to gather.
Yeah. And now, so just on the calendar here and the selection of time. So in a market where it's a broker solution and you're consuming the data from the MLS with the showing instructions, that'll all pre-populate here. But if it's an MLS product, this is the tool that agents would use to schedule showings and let other agents as well know if the product's available. Am I right about that?
That is correct.
Okay.
So I'm glad you brought that up, because there's 2 unique elements here that I want to make sure the group hears, which is, number one, something that we've added into local showings is that, let's say in this exact scenario we talked about with the surveys, I have shown the property, and as the agent, I didn't leave feedback on it. I get reminders, I'm just not leaving feedback on this listing. I don't have time to leave the feedback, whatever the reason may be. But the listing agent obviously wants to get that feedback. So if I, as the showing agent, had connected this request to my buyers, the buyer will actually get an email asking them to answer the survey questions that were tied to this property. So the actual buyer themselves, the prospect, could answer that survey question and give the agent and the seller feedback on the home, but it's all anonymous. The listing agent is never seeing the contact information of the buyer. It's just another way that we can try to get that feedback back to the listing party. And in your example, Victor, of if this is a brokerage implementation and the MLS has not bought into it, the brokerage would still be able to come in and see all of the listings at the MLS and request showings on these properties. And because we are pulling in the agent's information from the MLS, we can still send out emails and other notifications to non-local showing using agents, because we've still got their contact info. So they could still be approving or declining showings on their listings, even though the brokerage is managing all of the requests through local showings. Those can still run to the other MLS members. So you could still approve or decline a showing on your property.
What is that little red box down in the lower right-hand corner of your screen?
So this is an integrated chat solution that is available for the administrators. If the brokerage bought the product or the MLS board bought the product, they can actually live chat directly with our tech support team. If they have any questions about anything they're trying to do in the system, our tech support service does offer live chat, phone support, and email support. So the administrators will be able to get that help real time.
That's excellent. Is there here? I have another tricky question here. Maybe you guys haven't thought of this, but some agents have multiple. They have 5, 6, 7 listings, and they need other agents in their office or whatever to help them with an open house on Saturday, because they can't be at all houses at the same time. Is there any way that they can sort of assign an open house to another agent or do anything like that?
Anything that would be open house related, and Mike, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but at this time, anything open house related wouldn't exist inside of local showings. That would be tied into our open house connector product, which they could purchase and have integrated in for open house management.
Okay.
Anything you want to add on that, Mike?
Yeah, the only thing I would say is that's something that we have talked about, Victor. I mean, obviously that's how things are done in many cases. So will you see some of that type functionality in here in the future? Quite possibly. I mean, we're taking all kinds of feedback right now already, which is why the second round of changes are already happening with the product.
And are you guys kind of road mapping this out for teams? Because I know that, I know that your product already supports Teams, but we didn't talk about how team support happens here, where, all of the, the my listings, so to speak, are really grouped by the whole team. So you want to just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, and you have a lot of nuances going on with teams depending on how the team operates. I mean, if you can think of it, it's being done. So yes, I mean, obviously we support that entire ecosystem in the DeltaNet platform. So we have thought about it. You aren't seeing some of those things built out in here yet in this demo, but it is, when I say it's on our radar, it's not an idea. Again, it's an ecosystem we already support. It's really thinking through, okay, what functionality do we expose in local showings and give the ability to do, such as assigning who's responsible for managing showings on a particular property, even if it's not your listing, assigning who's showing them when someone else is showing it. There's all kinds of odd nuances. So yeah, that we're definitely talking about it.
Well, I sure hope you put agent safety on that list too, Mike. That's one of the things that
yeah,
Agent Safety Week is coming up here. Agent Safety Month is coming up here, and I know this is one of the things that we all need to think about carefully when we're thinking about showings. But sorry for those interruptions. If you want to continue on there, Franklin.
Yeah, no problem. There's just really two last things that I wanted to demonstrate, which is to actually finalize the process of, let's say I wanted to just request a showing on one property. We're going to go ahead and say I'd like to show this 230 Quarry Ridge Road. So I can see on the dedicated request, make a showing here. I could see that there's already time blocked out on this day. It's not available for showing here, but I could come through and find the available time slots on the calendar. So maybe I want to show it at the 4 o'clock hour. I could see that's an open time slot. So we're just going to click on that block, and it takes me into the page where I can make the request. So I could say this is going to be shown Friday, 4 p.m. I'd like it to be a 30-minute. Maybe I wanted to block it out for 60 minutes or only 15. Again, I could tie a contact to this particular showing. So we'll grab one of my contacts. And then I could determine, is this a showing? Is this an inspection? Is it photography? We have other variables being built out as well, like walkthrough, second showing, third showing. So there will be multiple showing types I can specify. My information automatically populates here. And I can even add a comment on the request, such as buyer is motivated to submit offers by end of week. We'll go ahead and actually apply this request. And now it's actually popped up because this is a property that this agent is managing. So I could show you, I could approve or decline this request right from the interface. And we have built-in live chat with the application. So if Amanda had requested a showing on a property Mike was managing, this chat feature would automatically be connected to Mike, and Amanda could ask questions about the listing directly to him. So if I was going to do the showing and I noticed something was happening, I can actually open the app and go right to the property and have a direct live chat with the agent who is managing the listing. So you could ask questions and have a conversation logged right on the property that you could come back and reference at any time.
Broken sprinkler, number one answer.
And the last thing inside of the standalone local showings demo here is just the dedicated driving tours. You could come in and you can see it's going to build a driving tour for every day that you've got showing scheduled. You could manually build your own tour. You can come into any of the pre-created tours. And again, it's going to show you the listings that you're going to have in this particular tour here. You can add your driving directions. You can have a pre-saved starting address if you always want to start at the office or you're going to start at your house. This way you can get an overview of the properties you're going to be showing for that particular day. You could add properties to the tour. You could remove them. You can drag and drop and reorganize them, and it'll actually update the driving instructions real time. And you've got these old school instructions here as well, if you wanted to have the step-by-step directions to get to each one of these different properties.
And I can print that out and put it on a clipboard.
If you wanted to, you sure could. And finally, I did want to demonstrate what local showings looks like if it's integrated in with some of our other products. So here, this is giving you an example. I'm going to go to an agent, Dan, who's one of our engineers working on local showings, and give you an example of what the DeltaNet looks like, our core product with the CRM, marketing tools, website management, and more. Their showing solution is just seamlessly integrated directly into it. So they can have all of their contacts, all their marketing, everything managed in one central hub. And again, it's the same exact local showings experience, just with all sorts of other great tools directly integrated into it, like being able to manage their website, listings, and other information all in this hub. So using our marketplace, you could buy these other products, such as our open house connector app, and have that seamlessly integrated to your showing product to manage your open houses, survey questions for those open houses, and more. So it's all a completely integrated ecosystem.
Wow, that's fantastic. I'm looking down here at the number of questions that we have, and maybe we should segue into some of those. What do you think?
Yeah, you got a few.
Absolutely, we can definitely dive into some.
Yeah. Okay. So Robert asks about the reporting capabilities that that ShowingTime has, reports to brokers, sellers, and agents. You want to just bring up the showing report again? I think you showed that earlier, but let's see what that looks like, and maybe you could break it down a little bit in terms of what's included in this report. It's hard to see for somebody my age.
Yeah, absolutely. So these reports are kind of dynamic. So if you were just using local showings, you're basically going to have an email generated giving you an overview of the showing activity for that listing.
That
So
goes
the
to the
showings that have
agent,
happened. This goes directly to the agent, correct?
and then the agent can forward it to the client.
Correct. And
Okay.
yes, yep, absolutely. And they could remove comments or, audit it. Sometimes agents leaving feedback are a little more crass and they want their clients to see some of those comments. So they could audit the report before the client sees it. Absolutely. Now, these reports, depending on what other products you're using, this example is from a DeltaNet customer where we're also showing the seller all the search result activity, lifetime stats, view stats for the listing, any ways that the property was advertised. So we can put a ton of additional information in if you're using some of our other products like open house activity or number of ad impressions. So the report is dynamic and will show more activity based on what other products you're using. But this showing report will be there for standalone local showings.
Excellent. Susan Reynolds writes, where will it be based and when will it be functioning? I don't know what the where will it be based question means, but Susan, if you can refine that question, I don't understand what you mean about based, but when is it available? Can we talk about that?
Local showings is available today. We have multiple brokerages and MLS contracts that have already been executed, and dozens of additional contracts that are already sent out. So we are today in the process of onboarding the pilot run of local showings in various markets. So if you wanted to get involved and sign up for it today, you can, and we would start the onboarding process immediately. Typically, we're looking at anywhere between 2 to 3 weeks to get clients up and running with the product today. And as Mike had mentioned at the beginning of this webinar, this is version 1. This is a launch version of the product. We are looking for feedback. We have tons of refinements coming. We have an entire phase 2 of the product scoped and on our calendar and schedule to work on this summer, including the launch of the call center targeting a July launch today. So the app and the entire product is available. You can get signed up for it and get it working now.
Yeah, and I do want to also add that the iOS and the Android apps will be available in the app stores in about 1 week. So we've been going through that process and just got approval on one, but it is not launched yet. So those will be launched about a week from today in the, again, iOS and Android stores. In the apps support phones and tablets.
Excellent. The next question is related to the availability in FMLS. It says, how do Atlanta realtors get our first MLS service to purchase your local showings? I'll answer that question for you. Robert, you may want to reach out to Jeremy Crawford. He's the CEO of FMLS, and his email address is jeremy@fmls.com as a member, in case you don't have that. But you can also talk to your broker, because your broker can deploy it if that's not the way the MLS wants to go. Next question is from Vivian. Is Sotheby's part of this now?
No, we have no commitments from any franchises at this point, but we would love to have that conversation. So again, similar answer to the last one. Pass the interest up the chain, and I would absolutely entertain those conversations. I handle all of our enterprise prospects and partnerships.
Yeah, and let me add one thing to that as well. And Victor, I'm sure you're aware of this, but we've been having conversations with quite a few of the very large firms where we're seeing something unique happen with the large firms coming together and working together, let's say on a call center solution, where they didn't like the fact that they couldn't run their own call center with the previous solutions that were out there. And they were I'll use the word giddy. I don't mean that in a weird, they were really excited that they had the option of running their own. So of course their minds ran with it, said, hey, let's get together with, and I was there when it was happening. They're like, yeah, we're interested in that. So there are other options too, especially as it relates to call center. We are not handcuffing any customers to use our call center with the open APIs that we're doing. As long as you're using some of the standard call center software in the marketplace that we don't own, it's just call center software, you can light up your own call center. So I do know some large firms are going to be doing that.
Yeah. Vivian, you may want to reach out
to
Vivian, you may want to reach out to Simon Chen. He's the head of product for the Realogy Franchise Group and for the Realogy Brokerage Company as well. I don't know if your Sotheby's is part of what used to be called NRT, but if it's a company-owned store, either way, Simon's the guy to reach out to. I'm sure he'd love to hear from you. Next question is from Julie Brown. How do we know if Delta will be integrated into my market, which is DFW, Dallas Fort Worth? Let's go Texas, but that would be the Netris market. And I believe you guys have data there.
We do.
So that means that, if you wanted this product, Julie, you'd be able to do it. If Netris wants to use it in DFW, I think you would go talk to the folks at MetroTex and ask them to have Netris turn on this application. That would be John Holly at Netris. Julie, that was Julie. Okay. Why would an individual need access if their brokerage has it? Is a question from Brandy Harp. Either of you guys want to take that?
Yeah, the only thing I would say is if your brokerage has this, so if they license this, or even if your MLS licenses this, you don't individually need to do so. Again, we're going to entertain. I mean, we're strongly considering launching this to individual sales associates. But as you can imagine, we potentially have nearly 70% of the industry signing up for it right now. So we're making sure we execute well in that area before we open it up to individual sales associates signing up. But again, if your MLS has it or licenses it, then you will have it. Or if your real estate firm licenses it, you will have it.
Yeah, I mean, there's really a network effect that is benefits, when you have it across the brokerage or across the MLS. I mean, obviously across the MLS would be great if everybody's on the same platform, then the platform is talking to each other and keeping everybody organized on the same page. So I think your direction was really good.
Yeah. And the one thing I did want to add to Mike's answer is you'd said if you were a single agent, would you need to light it up if your brokerage or MLS has it? The answer to that would be no. But in markets where the MLS may purchase it, brokerages may still be interested in buying it as their own installation, because similar to what brokerages were familiar with as Showing Desk at the ShowingTime application, we've also got a solution for brokerages where you would be able to, at a company level, have administrators go in and see all of the agents in their organization and manage showings on behalf of their agents and do the coordination at a company level. So there's a whole brokerage layer that even if your MLS uses it, the brokerage may still have an application that they may want to purchase as a standalone.
And you get broker branding and all those other good broker and agent branding, a lot of those cool things. So I think you answered this before, and maybe this question was asked before you did, but let's just reiterate. Let's talk a little bit about integrations with Google Calendar and Contacts, as well as Microsoft. So those are totally available. So if you're using one of those popular business email solutions to manage your customers and your calendar and your tasks and things like that, all that integration is done for you through this product. Does your company offer marketing reports?
Yes. So we do, in our core product, have market watch reports, new listing alerts, market updates, and a variety of other reporting tools. Today, those are all tied directly into our core product, the DeltaNet. So it would be an add-on for local showings at launch. However, I can tell you part of our phase 2 products do include reporting capabilities for some of those listing reports that I know were built into ShowingTime's, I think, Insights solution. So we do have all of that data. We do have reports in the core product, and we do plan on expanding some of that reporting into local showings in phase 2 this summer.
Excellent. This one's a comment, very nicely done, user-friendly, love the driving directions. So kudos to the team. You'll have to share that with the developers. I think you answered the question about the call center and when that's live, so we can go through that. There's a question here about pricing. Can you give us some pricing ranges? I know that price depends on how many licenses you're buying, but yeah, there you go. So
Yeah,
pricing
so
it.
that's talking a little bit about pricing. As we mentioned, one of the 3 core philosophies of this is we don't want to disrupt established budgets. So if you are already a paying ShowingTime customer, you can essentially know that this is going to plug in at the same budget you're already spending. We're not going to disrupt your budget. So if you already know what you're spending, you could spend that same money to get local showings. That being said, also as part of our pilot run, I can't say how long we'll run this promotion, but as part of the pilot run, we're doing this with no setup fees because we didn't want it to be cost prohibitive for new users to get up and running. And obviously, we're cognizant that this is a pilot run of a new product. We've done new product launches, Mike, probably 24 times over the last couple of decades. And so we know that there's always going to be feedback and expansions as we launch a new product. So as part of being some of the initial brokerages and MLS boards that sign on, we're not having any setup fees up front. We want to get it up and running in as many markets as possible. So I can tell you that the minimum cost for local showings, it starts at $99 a month for a smaller brokerage. And then that cost will obviously tier. The price will go down cost per agent based off of the number of agents.
I mean, that's the maximum price or the minimum price?
The minimum price is $99 a month.
Okay.
That's the starting price to get up and running
Okay.
with it.
Thank you. And then I think you mentioned this earlier, Mike, but I know that you're committed to, doing everything you can there in the local community, and you're a great job producer there. Is your call center going to be local, based there in Ohio, or are you outsourcing it to some foreign country?
It's local.
Thank you very much. How do we find out if we already have a relationship to our local MLS? So this company, this individual is from Stellar MLS, which covers the bulk of Florida. I think the largest MLS in Florida, maybe the 4th largest in the country. Is it available there today?
Local showings is not available at Stellar, but I can tell you we do already work with Stellar. We pull data for that market. We've got clients in that area, and I believe we have already had initial conversations with that MLS.
Great.
Doing due diligence maybe in the last couple of weeks. Same thing goes for FMLS, for Netris. Almost all of the boards that have been mentioned have already taken a look in some capacity, and we have regular ongoing communications for those that have taken a look at local showings. We would just encourage you keep sending the interest up the board to your boards so they know you guys are also interested.
So you have the data, it's available to brokers, it's not a member benefit from the MLS.
Correct.
Is that the same answer for Beach's MLS, which is just sort of on the eastern coast there?
Yes.
You have the data,
Yes.
It's available to brokers, it's not a member benefit. Okay.
Correct.
Las Vegas.
It's same answer. We have the data.
Available to brokers, have the MLS call if they want it to be a member benefit. This is one now. Yeah.
Hey, I'm sure you can appreciate this, but a lot of the conversations that are going on right now with the MLSs as we do the follow-up, one comment, okay, who's signed with you so far? So I think it's one of those where the dominoes are starting to fall, and we'll see what happens after word starts getting out as to who is signing, especially with the very large ones that contracts are out on.
Yeah, there are still a number of those. Let me just answer all of these questions the same way. Today, there are no MLSs who make local showings available as a member benefit. The likelihood of Delta having data in your market is extremely high, but contact your MLS, tell them you saw the product, tell them you're interested in it, you'd love them to have a look at it. They do respond to members and they love to hear that information. So by all means, if you think that this is something that would benefit you and your colleagues in your local market, please be sure to reach out to your MLS and share it with your broker. If you're an agent on the call today and your broker hasn't seen the product, I'm certain that they know who Delta Media is. They've been around the industry a long time. Make the introduction. We're also going to take this recording of today's webinar and send it out to everybody, so you're welcome to share it. Here's a comment that says, if this is anything like the rest of the Delta Media product, I'm sure it's going to be amazing. I've been a customer for 8 years. Love the entire platform. I've never been disappointed. Will MLS attach documents? be added to the service for showing agent to receive. So I think that those are available in the data feed in most markets. So I think the answer there is if the MLS makes the link to the document available, then it can certainly be included in this application.
Yes.
And Amy Cannon is a single owner brokerage. So she has no agents in her firm, but she wanted to confirm that the price is $99. So I'm guessing that would be yes. Kansas City, we've already answered that question. And can the buyers see appointments that are made for them? Last question.
So the way that the buyer side will work at launch, same thing goes for the sellers, is if you've got in your contacts and local showings, email addresses and phone numbers entered, they will also be getting the communications as appointments are confirmed or denied. They will get a direct email. They can get a text message notifying them of the appointments. So yes, they will see. And one of the items that is on the roadmap for phase 2 will be in development this year would be a buyer seller app. So the consumers would have an application they could use, download, and see everything in their own version of the application. So yes.
Well, I was going to cut off the questions because we're a couple minutes over time, but this question is so good that we'll make this our final. Robert asks, if this is a member benefit from the MLS, will the broker still have to pay an additional fee?
If the MLS is making this we have a buy, and let's use Beach's MLS as an example. Typically all the conversations we've had would be the agents in that entire board would have it included as a member benefit. If a broker or a brokerage wanted to buy it, they would buy the standalone cost for the number of agents they want to provide it for in their brokerage to do the management of the showings and the appointment setting inside of their company, brand it, and put their company logos and information on it. So they wouldn't have to buy it, but if the brokerage wanted to, they could.
Okay, so the broker benefits to paying the $99 would be broker and agent branding, as well as admin management of the scheduling showings. And would that also include the API to their call center if they have one? Or is that an additional fee on top? That's all included in the broker setup? Okay. And is there a setup fee for the broker or just the $99 a month?
Right now there is no setup fees, unless Mike, you have anything you want to share on that?
Yeah. Right now there's no setup fees. And really the direction that we're going, we look to automate everything we can for ourselves too. Yeah. So depends on how much of that we have automated here in the next 4 weeks or so. There may not be at all. But anyhow, we're trying to keep this as cost effective as possible across the board. But also just one thing that I wanted to mention is, and I'll kind of wrap it up with this from my perspective, is what we're trying to do with this too is solve some of the problems that we've heard about as we've been interviewing agents in the past couple months. Solving some of the pain points they have with today's solutions. But then also what we're looking at too is how do we help them solve some of the issues that we think exist that maybe they aren't dealing with yet or that we haven't heard about. So that's why the ongoing development here, we don't want to see this product stagnate like some of the others have, which is why so many comments on, wow, the interface is so nice. That's the type of stuff that we want to bring to the showing industry, so to speak, is that modern, up-to-date interface with modern, up-to-date functionality that's easy to use.
There's one other question here about InfoSparks, which is an adjacent program. It's sort of a data and analytics program that's offered by ShowingTime. So, maybe we'll just take some of these additional questions and we'll hand them over to you and you can reach back to those individuals and answer them. But listen, guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here and sharing all this great information with RE Technologies subscribers. And I hope you guys have a lot of success with this product. I really appreciate the fact that you guys jumped on the opportunity to serve the industry in this way, and love your philosophy and love the support that you give all the time. So thanks a lot for coming, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah. Bye-bye.